Hey there, awesome viewers. Welcome to OptiTop 10, the ultimate hub for engaging top 10 lists and essential information on a variety of topics. Here, we delve into fascinating facts and intriguing stories. You are now part of a community embarking on a journey together. Whether it's science, history, technology, or pop culture, we promise you a voyage filled with wonder and insight. Let us know which topics you'd like to see, and let's embark on this discovery journey together. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give a thumbs up if you're ready to learn and explore more. Let's get started. In today's YouTube video, we delve into the top 10 most dangerous countries around the globe. From conflict zones to high crime rates, join us as we uncover the realities and factors contributing to these rankings. Stay tuned to learn more about the complexities of safety and security in these nations. 1. Syria. 2011 saw the start of anti-government demonstrations in Syria, which quickly spiraled out of control and turned into a bloody civil war. There has been ceaseless fighting between a number of groups, including the government of President Bashar al-Assad in Syria, rebel groups attempting to overthrow him, and extremist groups such as ISIS. Millions of Syrians have been internally and externally displaced as a result of the war's extensive destruction. There have been horrible losses and international outrage as a result of the Syrian government being suspected of using chemical weapons against its own citizens. Rebel organizations have exacerbated the humanitarian catastrophe by adding to the confusion and frequently being dispersed and having different goals. The situation is made more difficult by the existence of extremist organizations like ISIS, which occupy territory, carry out crimes, and threaten not only Syrians, but even broader, as well as world stability. With civilians suffering the most, Syria continues to be one of the world's most dangerous countries due to continuous fighting, bombardment, and the constant threat of violence. 2. Afghanistan. The country has endured decades of fighting, accompanied by persistent instability and insurgency. An important force that frequently launches assaults against both government soldiers and civilians is the fundamentalist Islamist group known as the Taliban. The nation also faces problems with terrorism, drug trafficking, and corruption, which adds to its ranking as one of the world's most dangerous nations. Afghanistan faces numerous difficulties, including widespread poverty, poor infrastructure, and insufficient access to healthcare and education. These elements exacerbate the nation's instability and make a large number of people more susceptible to abuse and violence. In addition, the current peace talks and the withdrawal of foreign forces exacerbate the unpredictability and make the dangerous situation that civilians are in even more difficult. 3. Yemen. Yemen is facing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, exacerbated by years of conflict, political turmoil, and economic collapse. A Saudi-led military intervention against Houthi rebels has resulted in widespread devastation, including airstrikes on civilian areas and a blockade that has exacerbated food and medical shortages. The ongoing violence and lack of basic services have created dire conditions for the Yemeni population, making it extremely hazardous for residents and visitors alike. Additionally, the conflict in Yemen has displaced millions internally and externally, worsening the humanitarian crisis. Critical infrastructure like hospitals and schools has been destroyed, leaving many without essential services. Economic collapse, soaring unemployment, and hyperinflation have pushed families to the brink of starvation. The blockade on Yemen's ports has restricted the flow of aid, exacerbating food and medical shortages, leading to alarming levels of malnutrition and disease. Yemen's dire situation highlights the urgent need for a political solution and increased international aid to alleviate the suffering of its people. 4. Somalia. Somalia has experienced decades of instability, characterized by clan warfare, piracy, and the presence of militant groups like Al-Shabaab. The country lacks effective governance and security infrastructure, leading to widespread lawlessness and violence. Armed conflict, terrorist attacks, and humanitarian crises continue to pose significant risks to civilians, aid workers, and travelers in Somalia. Moreover, Somalia's lack of effective governance has led to widespread lawlessness, fostering an environment conducive to piracy off its coastlines. Humanitarian crises persist due to food insecurity, displacement, and limited access to essential services such as healthcare and education. Despite international efforts, armed conflict, terrorism, and ongoing crises continue to pose significant risks to civilians, aid workers, and travelers in Somalia. 5. South Sudan. Since obtaining independence in 2011, South Sudan, the youngest country in the world, has been plagued by political instability and conflict. Humanitarian crises and mass relocation have been caused by ethnic violence, power disputes, and violations of human rights. Civil war still raging in the nation has left residents facing terrible consequences on a daily basis, including disease, starvation, and acts of violence. Conflicts over oil resources and corruption provide economic difficulties for South Sudan, in addition to displacement and conflict. Humanitarian emergencies are exacerbated by the insufferable healthcare system. Millions of people being uprooted also puts pressure on neighboring nations, exacerbating regional instability. South Sudan continues to be one of the world's most turbulent and dangerous places, despite international efforts. 6. Iraq. Although there have been years of fighting, the nation is still unstable and dangerous. The persistence of violence and insecurity is a result of political unrest, sectarian strife, and the existence of extremist organizations like ISIS. The nation's citizens and tourists are seriously at risk from bombs, terrorist strikes, and violent conflicts between rival groups. After years of fighting, Iraq is still having difficulty reconstructing its economy and infrastructure. Government corruption erodes public confidence and intensifies social unrest. Despite efforts to drive extremist groups like ISIS out of major urban centers, they continue to represent a security danger. Iraqi society still harbors sectarian divisions, which contribute to instability. Although the government and the international community are working to address these problems, Iraq still faces danger and instability. 7. Libya. Since Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown in 2011, Libya has suffered from political unrest and armed strife. The nation is split up between warring groups, each with its own armed militia and opposing government. Due to the ongoing bloodshed that has followed from this, including terrorist attacks, conflicts between militia groups, and violations of human rights, Libya has become a very dangerous place for both locals and tourists. In addition, a humanitarian catastrophe has resulted from Libya's instability, with widespread displacement, a lack of access to healthcare and education, and shortages of basic goods and services. The existence of terrorist organizations and armed militias not only encourages violence, but also obstructs attempts to build a functioning government and promote national harmony. Libya's situation is still unstable despite international mediation attempts, with the continued conflict posing serious hazards to people and obstructing the nation's path to peace and security. 8. Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. The DRC has long struggled with issues like political unrest, military warfare, and humanitarian disasters. Human rights breaches, displacement, and widespread bloodshed have resulted from conflicts between government forces, rebel groups, and ethnic milities. Millions of citizens' lives are still in danger due to continuous warfare and insecurity, especially in the country's east. 9. Central African Republic. For many years, the Central African Republic has been beset by conflict, instability, and humanitarian catastrophes. Widespread insecurity and lawlessness are the result of armed organizations, governmental instability, and ethnic tensions. Violent clashes between opposing groups have led to human rights violations, displacement, and serious dangers for travelers and relief workers working in the nation. 10. Venezuela. Venezuela. The country is currently experiencing a complex crisis that includes social unrest, economic collapse, and political unrest. Food and medical shortages, public service collapse, and hyperinflation are the results of years of mismanagement, corruption, and autocratic governance. The nation's high crime rate, which includes political repression and gang violence, adds to its instability and creates a dangerous atmosphere for both locals and tourists. Furthermore, millions of people have fled Venezuela in pursuit of better chances and basic requirements, setting off one of the biggest migration flows in the history of the region. The COVID-19 pandemic's effects have been made worse by the healthcare system's collapse, which has left many people without access to healthcare. Political repression, which includes suppression of free expression and protest, has exacerbated social divisions and resulted in violations of human rights. Venezuela's future is still uncertain, despite international pressure and attempts at mediation. The country's population, welfare, and regional stability are seriously threatened by the protracted conflict. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the top 10 most dangerous countries. By understanding the challenges these nations face, we can work towards a safer future for all. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let's strive for peace together. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching.